It's as if you've taken that jumble of thoughts and put space between it and you. You're able to be an observer, so to speak. You're giving yourself a break from constantly checking off boxes, solving problems, and being overwhelmed by your emotions.
Juneteenth is a celebration of June 19, 1865, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation and 2 months after the end of the Civil War, when hundreds of thousands of enslaved men and women in Texas finally learned that they had been freed.
Time for a new term, binary. In the past, when people talked about sexual orientation, it traditionally meant a person was straight or gay. That's binary thinking. That something is either one thing or it's another thing. Today, we know that people's sexual orientation is better illustrated by a spectrum, like is on this slide.
An unconscious bias is an unknown preference that we already have in our subconscious, which actually affects the outcome of our social groups, the outcome of the associations that we're part of, the outcomes of the individuals who we might even consider for a job or an opportunity in a workplace.
So if you own a company or if you work in a company and you're doing business here in North America, you likely have clients from all different religions and customers from all different religions, and you probably also have people in your workforce, among your employees and your staff, who are coming from different world religions. And so it's simply a demographic reality that we must pay attention to in the workplace.
The origin of the construct of race began toward the end of the 18th century when there was this anti-slavery movement. People knew that it wasn't okay that we promoted slavery. As a consequence, pro-slavery forces needed to find a way to justify slavery.
The 6 behaviors of inclusive leader is really a context for you to understand that leadership is not just about what you know, it's about what you do. The best leaders are the ones who operationalize those behaviors that get the most out of the team to help them to be successful and to be more effective.
Companies who have implemented mental health initiatives for 1 year had a median annual ROI of $1.62 for every dollar spent. And companies that have programs in place for 3 or more years have an ROI of $2.18 or more.
Corporate social responsibility teams must play a leading role, collaborating with DEI and HR to transform statements of support and allyship into actions and behaviors that tell the right story of who and what American corporations want to be.
Every area of an organization is impacted by gender inclusion. Are you teaching your folks about the language of gender inclusion? Are you assuming someone's gender based on their name or clothing or how they look? Are you sharing your pronouns and asking people for theirs? Do your intake forms include options for non-binary?
At the end of this course, we hope that you are able to understand 3 things. First, the types of data that can be collected and integrated in your organization's DEI journey. Second, different data collection modes and how to best leverage them for actionable insights. And lastly, the ongoing process of monitoring data on a periodic basis to set you up for long-term success.
Regardless of where your company is on its cultural journey, it's important to listen to and learn from your employees. Groups like affinity groups, employee resource groups, and business resource groups give you an opportunity to do just that, regardless of where you are in your current journey.
In the past, organizations' focal point of employee well-being has been mostly focused from the neck down, or the physical well-being of our employees. What about the wellness above the neck, our mental wellness?
When we take a moment to think about diversity in our shared spaces, work, education, community organizations, we have to include discussion about what is consistently measured as the largest minority group in the world, people with disabilities.
Racial and ethnic cultural competence matters. The reason why it matters is because we need to be focused on reducing medical errors and limiting the legal risk. People do get sued when they have medical errors. And those medical errors are more likely to happen when you don't have racial, cultural competency in your healthcare organization.
The way in which you figure out what a person's true diversity is has everything to do with your ability to actually have a relationship and a deep conversation with the person.
Often we use the word equality to mean equal access or equal opportunity. In today's case, for diverse businesses to do business with a corporation. However, a level playing field does not equate to equity.
The research on characteristics of high-performing teams identified psychological safety as the top indicator of their performance. This slide lists those top 5 traits in order of importance.
But then, even with that commitment, there's still challenges that women face, particularly women of color in the workplace. 42% of young mothers feel exhausted, and 37% of women overall are tired. Women face a number of challenges, including Black women feeling excluded and feeling that they're not a part of the conversations. And then 47% of senior women feel like they have to be on all the time.